meantime 10 rewilding areas in Europe. Rewilding Europe is an idea that came up like exactly 10 or 11 years ago, an NGO in the Netherlands, that aimed to identify landscapes in Europe that have the potential for more natural regeneration, let's say, not to become wilderness areas, but to be able to regenerate by transforming formerly agriculturally or intensively used areas into more natural areas. The background is that in many European landscapes, we have huge land abandonment because the agriculture, especially in the Mediterranean, is not economic anymore. Lots of land is abandoned. And of course, this is an opportunity where large mammals, large herbivores, wildlife comes back. We have huge success in the nature conservation in the past 30, 40, 50 years, where we have the comeback of certain species. And rewilding is an idea to really give more space for the coexistence between wild species and land, but also to give more space to nature, to natural regeneration. It's not necessarily that we are able to have everywhere wilderness, but I think the rewilding idea is also not to think about the specific habitat that we are going to protect and manage, but to allow nature to find its own way, which is very important in terms of especially rivers, where it's an ongoing and always changing dynamic in the landscape. And the process of becoming an area is like a qualification. The areas must be usually quite low population density, so that there's a not huge population. Usually an interesting landscape that is not very heavily transformed by man and humankind, and also some of potential, areas that give potential for nature to go its own way. And the Oder Delta, it was in 2015 when it was qualified as a rewilding area, mainly because of the huge mosaic of open and water-related landscape, huge forest complexes like here, which are not very disturbed. We're here in the Heide, also big forest complexes, not much infrastructure. Of course, the big water body of the Stettin Lagoon, which is an important bird corridor, bird flyway. And also what is interesting, the Oder Delta is still one of the last fragments of well-maintained ecological corridors for the comeback of wild animals. We have 10 years or more than 10 years before. The wolves came back to this area all from the east. We have populations of wild bisons living here that have the potential to move further west. We have lynx coming more and more into our area from the east. We have elks or moose regularly crossing the outruts, so we know the corridors are still there. And one of our aims, maybe compared to other rewilding areas where it's a big, the idea of rewilding is also to put herbivores in place to create this mosaic. We are not thinking about putting these animals here, but we would like to keep the healthy corridors intact so that the animals can come back by themselves, that we create the conditions that there is acceptance for these animals, and of course the rivers and the floodplains, our river system, in our view, is also a huge element in all the connectivity of the landscapes, because these are mostly the corridors where animals can freely move in our quite covered areas by infrastructure. So Rewilding Oder Delta, it's, as I said, in 2015, we became an area. It was a group of enthusiasts, local NGOs from Poland and Germany. Then just for the orientation, I forgot this too. So just to give you some orientation where we are. I will find it. I think we must be somewhere. I think we must be somewhere here. So we are in the southern part. We have here the border between Germany and Poland. We have here that's the Puszczak-Szajska Kanalai, that is the German part of it. We have here the large river Peene, one of the key areas that was also restored peatland and river floodplain. We have here the island of Usedom, here's the island of Wolin, here the Dosvarovo marshes, huge Natura 2000 areas like Wąki-Skorzewskie, and the big forest areas, Puszcza-Kominiowska, and here is Szczecin, down here, and then over there we have Berlin. You see just also by these colors, it's a landscape dominated mainly by forests or grasslands and water and rivers, and we have since, when we started in 2015, a key area was here the Peene River, where we started with some activities around nature tourism. We had here big ambitions because there was a lot of threats coming from industrializing, farming and chicken farms. It's quite attractive because it's an empty area. We have here the hotspot of tourism. We have here Szczecin, so many industrial agriculture producers love this type of areas because nobody is living there, nobody is able to complain. Similar with the windmills, there was huge plans to put windmills straight around the lagoon, which is of course a nice windy place, but at the same time one of the most sensitive areas in terms of bird migration. So the initiative to start with rewilding was exactly because local people wanted to find more international support to fight against it. But from this, we started to develop, and finally we founded the Rewilding Oder Delta Association that was aimed to work in two countries, in Germany and Poland. By now, we were founded in 2019, officially sitting on the German side as a German non-profit association. But we have a mixed team of 13 people. We have a mixed board. We have a mixed membership. We recruit members from Poland and Germany, mostly local entrepreneurs or local people who live in this area, so that we try to really create a local group but act also on a professional basis, as an NGO, fundraising, going into projects, trying to establish ourselves as an organization. And so from 2019, I think we were quite successful in the last years by getting a real own place where we have our office now here, 10 kilometers from this place. We have a growing team that is dealing from wildlife topics to tourism and freshwater activities. And we're quite successful also in fundraising in different fields. So what we do is, as I said, the rivers and water people characteristic for this area. So this is one of the topics the wildlife come back. Say to work with the lynx come back, about the bison, the moose. We are working especially here with the ZTP, the Hottentot mosquito, that is the Western Pomeranian Nature Conservation Society, and for example in October we start a huge live project with them to run for the next 5 years about the reinforcement of the lynx population so that it can further migrate, as an example. We do also a research project exactly here on the German-Polish border with the German Institute for Biodiversity Research. doing camera trapping and especially working also on the effects of the African swine flu fence that is blocking the whole border to see what does it mean for migration of animals in this area. The second big issue, and that's why I'm so happy that we can host the River University, because we see we have a big water body, the lagoon. We have a lot of wetlands, peatlands that have been destroyed over the last centuries by melioration, regulation. But still we have here an area that is interesting because a lot of this intensity went down after GDR collapsed, and also the whole border area. And that's the unique thing about the Oder that, since the Second World War, there was no major investments, infrastructure, or regulatory work. That's why we have such a natural, unique river here. And what comes now is huge threats, and it's really interesting to see what nature was able to do within the last 80 years. So that's why we are dealing also with the question of restoration and regeneration of rivers and water bodies. And here the wetlands, rivers are key. We are spotting on different pieces and bits in the rivers around our area. We work on the Ina River in Poland, we work on the Uka River, where we want to recreate an old meander. We work here around the village where we will be tomorrow, to see how can we work with farmers to re-wet certain areas so that there will be win-wins for both sides. So I think you can see that our plans here, but I'm also hoping to get some inspirations from your experience around this topic. And as I said, the topic is regeneration, restoration, and rewilding is quite a new concept. We still don't know really what is it all about. We are still experiencing and exploring what is the difference to conventional nature conservation. And as it's a new concept, I think I was quite proud to see that the European Environment Agency already considers this as a new way, new approach towards restoration, that rewilding, looking for the pathway towards a more natural habitat, let's say, that enters into its own dynamic, is a new way from looking into specific habitats or species that we want to protect, but really a lot more decision-making by nature itself. This is, of course, a big change in some attitudes when we look at our education, when we have seen, that's how nature has to look like, that's what we have to manage, and this and this and this step has to be done, and then everything is fine. But animals or nature doesn't work like this, and we are also trying to learn how to make rewilding this a bit more stepping back, letting nature do. And that's what we hope to show you also a little bit from this class. Because in all this, man is also relevant, not only we as scientists or as activists, but I think what we try to do is not to come, look, this is a beautiful area, you people should go out and leave your management that you did over years. I think it's about people, and we need to show that these attractive wild areas are also potential for new sources of income. And so this is like the third strand of rewilding, how to integrate people, how to make people also benefit from the nature that is around them. Yeah, and that's what we hope to see and show and discuss together over the next 4 days. We will see definitely more because we will go also to the Oder, but of course the Oder with its huge catchment, it's very relevant because everything that goes wrong on the Oder is also having a negative impact on our area on the Oder Delta, and that's why we also support very much any activity, any initiative to fight against the destruction of the Oder River. We are working together with an alliance of German NGOs to protest against it. We're trying to bring together German and Polish NGOs, and I'm very happy that in the last 2 years, like the CINEA and the German Aktionsbündnis, they have really done a lot of work, a lot of big NGOs that engage to support this. So that's great, because we are a small organization trying to focus on this area around the world. But if we want to succeed, we need much more, and also the big NGOs to support all our activities. So, thank you.